We are streaming to Twitter and YouTube.
Are we? What
But
about Twitch? Are we twitching?
we should set up Twitch. Do we have a Navbar Twitch?
Yeah, I set one up, and then you took over the command, the
Oh,
the the
I'm
pilot
such a
command.
jerk. You make me sound so awful. You make me sound like
Fiddling with
you're held
lights, showing
here
up late.
against your will.
Nah, it's good. Happily delivering the parcel to you.
Simon, how have you been for a week? We're not starting the podcast just yet. We're just starting the live stream fun bit because I need to fix this lighting. But you tell me, how are you?
What
You
I'm
having a good
telling you
morning?
is this right here should be part of the podcast because it's fun. It's
Well-
relatable. The struggles of setting up lights.
I feel like the audio listeners might not enjoy this part so much.
Fair enough. He's too professional. He's professional.
Is that okay? Maybe I just want maybe it was just that one super glary window. I look alright.
It's all right. We're matching in the green sort of camo. Oh, it's the Sentry syntax one.
Yeah.
Well, mine is cotton on.
Got the repping the whole brand. We got the Yeti here.
I just got the S of the syntax or
That's
Simon.
very cool.
Are we showing off? Oh my
skateboard.
god. I think he wants the job at syntax.
No, we need to
Oh yeah, Sentry.
merge with Scott and Wes.
I have all the S's, but none of them are Sentry.
Nice.
Oh, am I mirrored? Oh, whatever. That's,
we have a running joke as well that originally we were going to call the code name, the secret code name for the Navbar podcast was Syntax AU.
The logo is still that in our Notion.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's like the Syntax logo, but it's just got a kangaroo behind it. We're hilarious. The bits that all of our audience miss out on. The funniest bits are the bits you guys don't see.
Yeah.
Let's get started on the actual podcast.
I still don't know how to share. I've found on Twitter the stream link, but I don't know. Share. Post this. Let's go. Boom. Shipped.
Boom.
I shipped it.
And you just shared the guest link so anyone on Twitter can join the Navbar podcast. No, I'm joking.
All my bot followers.
All right. Let's start the actual podcast.
We have.
I know you want just, if it wasn't audio only, that would be fine. And here we are. Simon, welcome to another week of the Navbar. How have you been?
I have been really, really good. Spring has crept up into almost a summery feeling around where we live. T-shirts, surfing, water's warm, life is beautiful. What about you?
Yeah, it's so lovely here. We've got beautiful sunny days, not close enough to the water to know whether it is warm, but I can tell you it's probably freezing cold because down in Victoria where I am, down near Melbourne, the water stays cold. Well, just all year round, really. Even like in the middle of summer, you go in the water and you're like, this is ice water. We're a little too close to Antarctica, that big ice cube that's just keeping our water cold.
Yep. Yeah, it goes from freezing to very cold and back to freezing, I guess.
Yeah. So I have been moving my office around just for funsies. My office has been like a constant, like it always is for every content creator.
Iteration.
You don't just like set it once and then it's done. It has been like slowly evolving for like 3 years now. And usually it's evolving via stupid tech things that I'm spending way too much money on and new cameras and lenses and stuff. But now it's evolving in terms of being able to shoot different angles and kind of, varying it up a little bit. Very much inspired by your background, which looks really nice and alive and beautiful. And there's lots of like interesting stuff, beautiful like wooden desks, plants. You got a lot of light, interesting stuff going on.
It's a fake plant.
Oh, don't tell them that. Don't tell them that. There are so many indoor plants that would survive as well. You've still opted for plastic.
I don't want any water and dirt near my electronics
True.
or maintenance.
something I've always wanted to put plants in here. Actually, maybe this is the opportunity. There are, I forget what they, well, yeah, there are a bunch of them, but there is a particular plant that I was going to put in here that
Mhm.
cleans the air, essentially, filters out all the CO2, and is very much like a happy to be not in direct sunlight, and very little watering kind of plant. So maybe it's time to set that up in here, because I have been moving all this stuff around. So if you've watched a previous episode of the Navbar or any of my videos, you will probably know that I have a few synthesizers, and I like to surround myself with uh, electronic music gear. And I was feeling like it was looking a little bit too cluttered, and the two sides weren't like symmetrical, and it kind of casted some weird shadows around the room. Yes, symmetry is like the enemy of content creation. Uh, and so I decided that I I would put all of those on the wall that I used to have my desk on. So now there's like a wall of synthesizers, but they're out of shot of the camera.
Oh,
And I know, it's sad, but they're still very playable. It's still very enjoyable for me, just not everyone else. Um, and so I did that, and then I realized, so the desk can kind of go on like any of the other three walls, but it's not really like an ideal position for having like a set camera. And uh, either it takes up all of the space, the walking space in between, so that I can actually use the synthesizers. I would have to have a camera there on a tripod and kind of ruin the ability to access those,
mm.
or I have my desk in like a really dysfunctional position, which means that sitting in here working every day is not very enjoyable. And so I was trying to think of ways that I could solve this, and I remembered like way back in a syntax episode, like years ago, um, Wes was talking about. I think this was actually for chairs, but he was talking about getting like rollerblade wheels for chairs, and so he
Oh
took the
yeah,
like,
the casters.
yeah.
Speaking of Wes, he said nice T-shirt in the chat.
He is watching. He knows. He knows that we were gonna steal their whole idea for the podcast.
I think he's got a webcam app that detects the syntax logo and just pings him
Just
straight
auto
away.
comments.
Oh yeah, auto comment. Yes, of course.
And so way back in the day, Wes replaced the wheels on his chair with rollerblade wheels, which were like super easy to move around. And so I thought this would be perfect if I put this on the desk. Then the desk could be in any of those three positions, or anywhere else in the room. I could roll it around, and yeah, and like kind of rotate it into position when I'm doing a recording, and then put it back in a nice, convenient location for actually working for the rest of the time. Because
Yep.
even like, I try to release like a video every week, maybe every 2 weeks. I actually only spend probably like 2 hours out of that week or fortnight actually in front of the camera recording. The rest of the time is like planning, writing, building an example, like promoting the last one, editing, rendering, all of the
There's
other
the
things.
iceberg, and it's everything
Yeah,
below below sea level. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, the tiny little bit above the water is the actual standing in front of the camera. So I've been trying to like I want that to look as as good as it can look, because that's like, the main thing I do is record videos. But I don't want it to make everything else miserable. And I think
Mhm.
for people who've listened to this podcast, have probably seen a few waves of both me and you going through like trying to make
Perfect
everything
lighting.
perfect, and then
Yes.
feeling just like in a dark box, and miserable, and then throwing it all out the window and being like, no, I can do it this way. And
And then
yeah.
slowly creeping back.
Yeah, that's right. And so yeah, I went to Bunnings and I got some. They're not rollerblade wheels. They're like slightly bigger. They're like trolley wheels,
Uh-huh.
but super super smooth. Which means, check this out. You are on a pivoting desk that can move anywhere I want. So it used to be just a standing desk, a stand sit desk. So it used to just go up and down, and now it moves like omnidirectionally. You can go forward, backwards, left, right, up, down. Oh, what? You're on wheels?
I
Did
gave you
you?
this trick, dude. Go listen to episode 264 of the. We've done like 50 episodes. I don't know the number, but I did tell my sick pick was the little wheels for the desk that I got like 3 years ago, and it's life changing because you can adjust to the lights and to the window.
Why wasn't I listening?
Yeah, exactly. You were probably thinking of your next Ryobi tool.
That's true. That's true. My mind was wandering.
But yeah,
What-
completely agree. It's game changing, and you can have different sets. My problem is I always have the camera mounted on the. Everything is clamped on the desk, which is great because seat stand up and down, everything follows always. But I always kind of have the same. If I move the desk, the whole angle kind of changes with it. I can't
Hmm.
really say, oh, let's turn the desk, but the camera keeps coming from the side. But I mean,
It's all a compromise. It's
yes.
always a compromise. But yeah, this is why I wanted to. It takes up a lot more of the footprint of the room and is a little annoying. But I wanted the camera to be on a tripod so that yeah, it was addressing exactly that. It wasn't locked into a position where um, like it can only be wherever the desk is. And so now my camera can move independently of my desk. I haven't sorted out lights yet. Lights, I'm probably gonna have to get more tripods maybe
You need
so
a
that
little drone that flies and you can just
yes.
position it.
I was legitimately thinking about getting a drone to do like
The
stable
lighting.
outside shots and stuff.
Oh yes, that's
But then
one.
that
That's one thing I have a drone and I want to do, but I never do it. But I'm like, I always dreamt of doing a. It would kind of reveal where I live, which if you really want to locate me with everything I tweet, you could probably find easily. But where I'm like at my desk and then the thing goes straight to the beach or like something really cool, like a time lapse.
yeah, that's exactly what I would like to do. And like, yeah, going down the street, there's like really nice walks and just beautiful rainforesty stuff everywhere. And so I feel like it would be super easy to just have a drone in my pocket or in a backpack and then just like go for a walk over lunch or whatever and then film some stuff. The annoying thing is like the noise of the like I could use it as B-roll of just me walking around and then narrate something over the top of it. But to get audio of me explaining something while walking through the forest or something like that. Um, I'm sure this is a solved problem. I'm sure like that frequency is so predictable. In fact, I wonder if I feel like DJI and the other drone brands have clip-on mics. I wonder if they've taken that into account and like whether they cancel out the exact frequency of that sound of the drone. Because
But
if so,
almost no one does talking heads with drone shots. Usually it films the
but
landscape.
this is probably why, right?
Yeah.
Because that sound, that annoying sound.
Pretty sure that DaVinci Resolve voice isolation would like absolutely remove the drone, like it does everything.
I hear what you're saying. I need to purchase a drone just so that I can test this out. And
Yes.
this is a worthwhile purchase that my
Yes.
wife will be very happy that I made.
Stick a super base sticker on it and kind of expense it maybe.
Oh, yeah. Hey, that's a good idea. Now we're thinking I could strap the neon sign, the little
Yeah.
neon thing to it and fly that around.
Speaking of neon sign, you usually have a very purple vibey brand and you're very green today. Even the neon, I mean, super base sign has always been green, but it looks like it's like splattered the green all over the whole vibe of the room.
Right.
Even my
Yes,
t-shirt.
I need to warm it up a little bit. I think, yeah, the lights, the face lights would help because right now this is just natural light from the windows, which is also looking a little sharp in areas.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you live, I can tell you live by lots of trees and stuff because it's got a lot of green to it. When today, I mean, I have a green shot, but very often I don't want to mess up with white balance and all that stuff. I'm like, I'm past this point. I'm like,
yeah,
every now and then I see massive green bits on my skin and I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm looking at two windows with just lush greenery, Australian plants everywhere.
yeah. I was just thinking exactly the same thing. I was like, I could warm up this temperature, and then I'm like, oh god, the white balance diving into that again is not what I need to do at this point. I need to get back to having a functional working studio because we're running like 15 minutes late today because I
Yeah,
forgot I
I told
needed.
Twitter.
Yeah, I needed to. Oh yeah, thanks. I forgot that I needed to like set everything up. I needed a microphone and I needed a camera, and I was gonna set up a light, but I ran out of time. Um, but
You're
yeah,
looking
I don't know
great.
if you can hear that circular saw noise out the back either.
Why
Hopefully,
am
it's
I
just
listening in the microphone? It's not right.
that's where my voice comes from.
Exactly. I was like,
Because through my microphone into your microphone.
now we don't
Uh,
really hear any. Like I'm often worried about the birds and dogs, but it's somehow people say, "Oh, I don't hear any of that."
Yeah, right. And
I
I
do
think
hear it there because it does the feedback.
right. I think Riverside does some noise reduction-y stuff as well. Maybe that's after the
Yes.
fact though. But
Shout out Riverside.
that's what we're using for recording. And it's actually going really, really well, really stable. Like it, we used it initially, like way early on in the Navbar podcast, and had some issues, but it seems to be working super stable now.
Nice.
But yes, so I've got a synth wall which I can use for just jamming and playing synthesizers. They're
Yeah.
out of shot of the camera. I don't need to worry about my symmetry and things anymore. I'm trying to do more like angled shots, and there's a big glary sun ray on this window right now, so it's a bit too much to have it open. But after about 11 o'clock in the morning, this window has this really nice green stuff outside, and I can shoot with that window that way or the
Yeah.
window there. And all of them have like a nice kind of blurry green natural background. So I just need to work out how to do um, face lighting. My wife did suggest, like, if you've gone this far, why don't you just put like a big, like, pneumatic arm in the center of the room? So like a big, like
Yeah.
what dentist lights are on, where you like pull it to a particular position and just it stays there when you let go. Why don't you just get a big pneumatic arm for your camera and two big pneumatic arms for lights, and then you can literally move them anywhere in the room. Like you don't have to worry about the stands and the footprint of the ground. You could just
From the roof. Yep.
it'd
It's
be so sick.
every content creator's dream is to have a dentist lamp because they go just like grab it, put it
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's the
I
best.
just can't imagine it like reliably holding that much weight and being able to just stop, because it's like because I'm still planning to put the oh, look at this.
I'm not using it's a boom arm, and I used in the phase where I try to make everything perfect. I had the shotgun mic off camera because whatever.
Yeah,
But then the echo and reverb annoyed me, so I went back to this, and I could probably put a key light on this thing and then just do a bit of, or even the camera.
that would be
Easy.
sick. Yeah.
Just a boom out. First world problem. It's just a Rode PSA one, which is like $100+ microphone arm that is just sitting there because I have another boom arm.
Yeah.
Content creators, man. But yeah, I've seen Christopher Rumpel he works at Laravel. He's like from Austria. He mounted his camera on this Rode PSA one, and I think it's pretty flexible.
Right.
So you can have it on your desk and still pivot independently from
Yeah.
the desk
That would
location.
actually
But
be super good.
see
That
what,
would
if
work well.
you're watching the stream right now, I'm shaking because I'm demonstrating the camera wobble. If you're on the stand mounted to the desk, you'll always have like this shockwave translation where if you're on a tripod behind, you have this super crisp, no movement.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like mine's slightly more wobbly now as well.
Yeah, I can see
Uh,
the mic going whoop, but the
yeah,
camera is not moving.
being on the wheels as well. I feel like the wheels make it slightly more wobbly in that they're kind of like they wobble back and forth a little bit. They've got brakes on them, which work well,
Yeah,
but um,
same
yeah.
deal. Like, yeah, adding the wheels adds a little bit of instability. I
Hmm.
have two questions. I have one question and one prediction. Prediction first, because now you have the wheels and you're thinking of the morning and afternoon angle, you will inevitably, as an engineer, get to a point where you're like, oh, I could get one of these robots sliding thing like they have for cameras, and it starts at 9 a.m. here, and by 5 p.m. it's there, and then you'll do like a really long recording where it slowly pans to the left. It's
Your
gonna
prediction
happen.
has already come true. You just saying that has made me feel like this is absolutely what I need. Actually, we've got it won't track the sun, but we've got a little robot vacuum cleaner thing. I could mount the tripod on the robot vacuum cleaner and then let it move around and clean the room and be my
On
perfect
a
angled
gimbal.
shot.
So that's
Yeah.
the prediction, and then the question is, are you telling me you're separating your work life and synth music life? Because in your Twitter bio, it says Chief Officer Music Producer at Superbass, and I'm very confused now.
Yeah, I think part of this is uh I think like I think it's the other way around. I think it's making it easier to jam on those synthesizers and making it like having basically like one wall that is like musical inspiration wall, and I can just quickly, because I've also kind of simplified the synths that are there, um to be like quite like synthesizers that are easy to jam with, like ones that you can like play a drum beat and stuff while you're playing the synthesizer. So
Yep.
it's kind of like I've kind of planned it around. I am secretly working on the follow up Super Bass album. For anyone who hasn't been listening to the Navbar long enough or following me at Super Bass, I last year, the end of last year, I released an album of synthwave music that was all produced in this room. And then we used a bunch of that music for Super Bass videos and things. And so I have, in all that spare time that I have, I've been slowly putting together some ideas for a follow up album that maybe will come out at some point, maybe.
Do it.
And so part of this was also to set up a more inspiring space to jam on ideas for the Super Bass album as well. Super Bass album number 2.
Ooh, volume 2.
Yeah.
One thing I've been waiting since I've met you is the Super Bass or personal video where you start by playing. Maybe you've done it and I haven't seen it. You know, at Tailwind Labs, I did one where I have the ukulele and the bass and beatbox, and I do a whole intro like this. I kind of like every video, I'm like, this is the one where he's going to crack a little intro. Has it happened yet? I've seen you freestyle rap for some announcement, but
I
not
did
the
do
synth.
I just realized I've been on Wi-Fi this whole time, so I've just switched off Wi-Fi, and I look like I'm still here. So I guess I've switched over to Ethernet. But hopefully the quality improves if it hasn't
Yes,
been.
you look better. You look sharper now.
Oh, sorry everyone who's watching the live stream. The local recording will be still high quality. But yes, that stream may have been pretty terrible. My bad.
Now you look great. Synth
Yes,
intro.
I did a rap video for a course that I put out for Level Up Tutorials. We are just like totally that's who should be our sponsor. We should get Syntax to sponsor. But yeah, I put out a course through Level Up Tutorials, Scott Tolinsky's previous education platform.
I think it's also
still running.
Sentry also acquired
Yeah.
welcomed this thing part of Syntax and Level Up and all this stuff.
Yeah, I haven't seen any new courses come out on it for a while. I don't know if he's still publishing new stuff. But anyway, I did a course for Level Up Tutorials, and they had some cool ideas about like doing some fun additional content to promote the course. And so one of them was it'd be super interesting to watch now. I did a like a Cribs in MTV Cribs style video. For anyone who hasn't seen Cribs, it was like a 90s MTV show where they went and like looked at famous people's houses. So it would start and it would be like, hey, I'm Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan, and this is my crib. And then like go through the house and show all the different rooms and all their fancy things that they've spent way too much money on.
Yeah.
I did a highly inspired by that format video. In fact, I think it was even called Level Up Tutorials Cribs, LUT Cribs. And showed off this room, and it was actually like right after this room was built. It's like a separate external office from the house.
Yeah.
And it was right after this was built, before everything was kind of just like hanging on by a thread.
Before you started fiddling endlessly.
Yeah, and everything was. There was a lot less expensive equipment in here, and a lot less tinkering had happened. So it would be interesting to go and watch that and see what like the first iteration of my my set or whatever was. But yeah, and another video that I did was a rap about remix, because the course was about remix.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Yeah, that was fun. I think that's still pinned as my personal YouTube video. So go and check that one out.
The welcome, like the play, like the teaser for your channel.
Yeah, I look super ratty as well. Like my hair's really long, and like I think it was just after we had our second child, I think. Wait, when was it? Anyway, I look disheveled. I look like I have just had a baby and have not been sleeping.
Yeah, they do that to you.
Yeah, but yeah, I should do some more music stuff. I am trying to like integrate it a little bit more into. I know I've like got it out of the background,
out of the shot. Yeah, it's disintegrate.
I've been working on like an app where like it uses super bass real time to um, send like MIDI information to my synthesizers, so people can play my synthesizers from anywhere in the world. Um, so
Yeah.
I've been like working on some fun projects like that and working on the super bass album, but visually have removed them a little bit from my
You're setting up the anticipation.
That's right. Yeah.
Have
You
you heard
gotta
of
yeah, you
the
gotta build that anticipation by taking it away.
yes?
People don't realize what they're missing, and then we just bring it back and they're like, oh my god, this is the thing. This is what I've been waiting for.
It's the principles of animation there, Disney stuff. Like if a character is about to sprint that way, they first wind up the other way, and then
Ah.
so you took them away from, and they're just gonna come back twice as strong with like neon lights, and I can see
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And the robo vacuum spinning and
Yeah.
good
And
stuff.
so that's what's been happening in my little office space. Yeah. What have you been up to this week?
Well, it's not this week, but I've went through a 90-degree rotation of my whole office. So all you can see only part of the background with that square view, but when it's full width, everything that is in the field of this camera looks great, but it used to be on that wall there.
Right. I remember you used to have the window behind you.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things. I had a window behind, and just like you said, we spend only n amount of hours recording on camera. The rest of the time is kind of like working and trying to write code. And so with that window behind, I had glare, so I would close the curtains all the time. And I was like, that's a shame that it's the nicest window. It's like literally a natural strip where no one can build anything. It's just like green stuff.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm closing this all day because it glares in my screen. Why don't I revisit the angle so I can have it? Now it's open. And yes, that kind of prompted this. For acoustics reason, it's probably not the best because the room is in length that way. And typically you kind of want to position yourself with the back wall as far as possible, like 2/3, whatever recording studio suggestion. So I've lost this, but I'm like, whatever, quality of life goes up, sound goes down a bit, still a net win.
Totally. Yeah, like I thought when I was planning out how to move the room around, like I was thinking about it from a improving the quality of content perspective. But once I moved my desk into this other position and like it was flexible and could move around a little bit, I realized how much it's actually a quality of life improvement. Like it's been really nice sitting at this different aspect. And now I've got a window to look out of. I used to just look at a wall and all of the nice windows were behind me. Exactly what you're saying. Like it's, you're not enjoying them, and it's just there as like a set for your video production. And so yeah, I've really liked actually looking out the window and like having like a fresh breeze right there in my face. Like I can open that window out and I can actually like feel the breeze. Whereas again, like before, I was kind of tucked into the only corner, the only side of the room that doesn't have a window or anything natural. I'd have to like turn all the way around, and like I can still look out the windows, but it just like I've noticed it's now like catching my eye. I'm like, oh yeah, look at those beautiful trees. God, I live in a cool place. So lovely. Look at nature. Look at life. Life's good.
These little things add up, man.
Yeah.
It's the whole roller coaster of content creator. You like, we did an episode on navigating burnout because it's a real thing when you're trapped in the oxygen-less box with fake lighting and stuff. And so you optimize for quality and then you optimize for happiness, and you just keep going like this.
Yeah.
And I think the older I get, the more I think happiness is more important than quality. And a really cool thing to notice is like I started leaving bird sounds and whatever, and the kids and the dogs coming. And maybe now, I don't know if it picks up, but there's just birds tweeting. Yeah. And the comments are always overwhelmingly positive, like, oh, I remember when I traveled to Australia, I just heard a kookaburra and stuff. Like people kind of enjoy having this nature. Oh, you're fading out. Good night.
The sun fades down, and so do I. Wow, that was dramatic.
For the audio listeners, I was explaining my little story, and John's camera kind of started getting like almost like Instagram sunset filtered, like
slowly
fade out, dramatic.
Like a Sith Lord in the darkness.
So yeah, I can see myself optimizing for happiness and just quality of life while still having a baseline quality, but good microphone, decent lights. It's probably all you need. I think there's that point of diminished return, how it's called. And I've been in that zone for way too long, way too deep. And then people are like, don't really care, and you look at very successful content creators that are doing it with their like their laptop camera, and it doesn't really matter that much. Get
Yeah.
screen studio, put the laptop on your lap, and off you go.
Yeah, totally. And then you start to realize, oh, probably more important than the video quality is like the personality that comes across. And when I'm like sitting in a dark room and just feeling really stressed, my personality isn't as bright and fun and welcoming. And when I'm up, no, I've gone dark again. Uh, not just in what I'm saying, but also in the lighting for the audio listeners. So I'm definitely going to have to sort this out. But yes, like I've noticed that I feel more positive and things with all of this
Yeah. So
nature and light around.
that's one. I think I've said it in other episodes already. When I look back at things that are super well produced, like my Tailwind Labs days, I'm like, yeah, this is great video quality. It's like setting the benchmark. But then I look at videos where I'm like chill and whatever, and there's like birds, and I'm like, it feels the vibe is better because it feels more like human. And I've noticed that like even now I'm still a little bit uptight when we live, and usually we have a nice chat after recording, and I'm like, we both kind of almost more engaging and natural because we just like shoot the shot and have no filter or whatsoever. And I'm like, oh, we should have recorded that bit as well. That would be like the B-roll podcast of like the afters. And yeah, just as the more natural and unpolished, sometimes the better.
Yeah. But speaking of awesome quality polished content, I have been seeing some very cool things coming from your Twitter account recently, and apparently my video
Ah,
is frozen. So,
it's
tell me,
okay. We can hear you.
what have you been working on?
Okay, so I work with a client which is taking a lot of time away from the public presence stuff, and I've always been a public facing engineer person. I enjoy just building my own little audience and engaging with people. And so I don't know if you can still hear me.
I can.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I've found myself thinking, oh, it's been about 3, 4 weeks. So I haven't shared anything publicly, and I might be fading out into the background while other people emerge and take my spot. And so um, I've tried to find a way to have a creative outlet and output that is one, fun. Now I'm by myself, and two, is repeatable. Like it doesn't need to take too much time of my limited time available on my schedule. And so I started doing this really short, no camera, no voiceover, literally screen recording only, almost time lapse of little Tailwind CSS speed runs where I just build a super simple thing. Some of them are like 10 seconds long, and I try to keep it under 1 minute as an informal rule. But if you've seen my Twitter, I've been every 2 or 3 days, I've been posting one. I've just finished editing one this morning, and it'll go out tomorrow morning. So I try to schedule them every 2 or 3 days. So it's kind of like, like show up consistently and good things happen. I'm trying to make good things happen. So if you
I
have no
love it.
idea what I'm talking about, just check on my Twitter. It's like these little clips. It's always the same background music because I don't want to spend time finding a song, and I want people to watch it without sound and not trying to cater the experience. Just it's nice if you have sound, but you don't really need the sound because there's no voiceover. And it's these little clips, and I try to show off some of my editing motion graphic clips and just have fun with it. So
Yeah,
that's what
it's
I've been
looking
doing.
great. It's like, yeah, obviously a interesting dive into more like motion graphic-y things. Like it looks awesome. And yeah, it's such a good idea, uh, like especially with the shorts format, not needing to take up screen real estate with you and setting up a camera and all of those things. Like that's obviously really effective and great for long form videos, but in these shorts, when you're just trying to quickly show off like this is a thing, especially with Tailwind because it's so visual, like you're not just showing a code editor, you need to be showing a browser as well, showing like those Tailwind classes are affecting the visual
Yep.
thing in the browser. And so, yeah, looks amazing. Such a
It's
good idea. Just having code,
yeah.
how it's changing, nice music in the background if anyone unmutes it as they're scrolling through their Twitter feed or whatever. Yeah, it's great.
It offers or presents a lot of new challenges. Just this vertical, or actually, I do square format, which I really like because it kind of works vertical, but it also works landscape. And on Twitter,
Mm.
it's square just looks super nice. And a lot of other places, if it's square, even YouTube, I think if you have a square video, they'll change the aspect ratio to square, so it's like bigger, big squarish layout. But I've been doing new from scratch, and I've also recycled some old videos of mine. And there's a 12-minute video, and there's this 3-minute segment that's really interesting. And I'm like, I'm gonna chop up this thing, but then it was recorded for a landscape format where the code is like either full screen and wide or two-third, one-third, and then I kind of have to do some fancy, clever cropping and rounded corners with Fusion in Resolve. And so every video I kind of discover new little techniques and then some better way to ease and transition between the clips. And I learn, I have fun, and it looks better and better. So I think it's a nice little ramp to be on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
And something else I wanted to chat to you about last week that we did not get to was the Mr. Beast handbook thing that leaked.
Oh, yeah.
Did you read that?
I did not read that, but I read Ian Lensman. He did a tweet thread on his take on that, and I kind of through it was pretty like 27 tweet or something really long, and through it I kind of feel like I read it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It was
Yeah.
it was a long piece,
Yeah.
but it was super interesting and really like, yeah, I think from the perspective of like doing content creation and doing YouTube stuff, it was very interesting to hear how basically like the top of their game business on YouTube does this. Yeah, it was really interesting, but it made me really appreciate not working at Mr. Beast. I think it sounds like it's a very stressful time. Like at Superbase, we have these launch weeks, which are a pretty nuts time to be working in the DevRel team. There's like, yeah, a lot of probably extra hours that go into those launch weeks, and it's pretty hectic. But then afterwards, like, there's a nice down period, and like,
Yeah.
I can take some time and recharge, and it all kind of levels itself out. But I feel like like working on Mr. Beast videos, it's just operating at that level 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of people would go there and burn out very quickly. And
Yeah,
I think
it's pretty intense. I think the pay is pretty intense as well in a good way. Like it's probably not the ideal role for a father with children and responsibilities and
no,
hobbies and stuff.
yeah.
Yep.
I've got to go at 3 o'clock in the morning because
I
we're
gotta
going
pick up
to shoot these explosions in the middle of the night at a
Sorry,
lake,
Jimmy.
and I need to be on set for 46 hours. Yes, no, it would not be ideal at our points in life.
Yeah, there was some really interesting points though. You can see how well, I haven't read that piece, but I've heard and read a lot about how he approaches things from super young age, and you can see he's obsessed from day one into figuring out the algorithm, like literally what is making the best performing YouTube video, and spending all the money in research and learning and trying stuff to continuously make it better. And there was a point where we're like, we don't do Hollywood production, we don't do the most polished, the best edited, the most emotional storytelling. We do the best YouTube video, and this is the game we're in. And so this can apply to a lot of different businesses. You narrow down in a niche, and you're like, this is what we do. We don't have to take the best of everything and try to do the best of everything. Just figure out what works for this and just go straight line.
Yeah, it was super interesting that distinction of like we're not trying to make Hollywood movies. We're not trying like we don't want interestingly they have obviously unlimited budget for cameras, but they do a lot of stuff on like GoPros or like handy cams. Like they I think pull away from having super high quality 8K or 16K everything. Like they could be shooting every single part of it on cinema cameras, but they choose not to because it changes the vibe. It doesn't feel like a YouTube video. It doesn't feel like this is just like it feels bigger than just Mr. Beast at the moment. It feels bigger than just him as a person, but it kind of it changes the vibe of it if the quality is too high. Yeah, it's super interesting, the different challenges that kind of come up with YouTube, and talking about like how important particular metrics are, and how that just kind of like flows through the entire business. So yeah, there were two really interesting points. One was um, like how important, not just like there are kind of like different phases to getting someone to watch the videos. So there's the like you need a really good title and thumbnail obviously to get them to stop scrolling and actually choose to click on the video. So that's like getting them in there. But then you need this like really interesting hook, and you need to kind of like keep them there. You need to show them something interesting straight away. But then you also need to like keep them watching throughout the video. So there are like these different kind of like different pieces that are affected by the entire company. Like the designers affect how the title and thumbnail work, and the script writers need to know what the title and thumbnail are going to be so that it can open in like a consistent way. Like it feels like the thumbnail that you clicked on is the video that you're watching. So it's really interesting how these very different roles all, like you would think that a designer wouldn't be thinking about like they wouldn't be thinking about scripting. They wouldn't be thinking about the like the literal things that Mr. Beast is saying, or you wouldn't think that a production manager would need to care about what the title and thumbnail of the video are. Like they're focusing on the actual, like recording the actual video itself. And so it was really interesting how the whole company cares about all of these like really specific YouTube metrics. I guess it's also interesting, like, coming from being the content person at a company, and so like the rest of the company doesn't really need to think about YouTube, and then there's like the DevRel team that cares a lot about YouTube. It's really interesting seeing an entire company where everyone in the company, every piece that touches it, cares about YouTube metrics and how the YouTube algorithm is going to treat every part of their job and anything that they're doing in any other part. It's very interesting.
Yeah. One part of this thing that I'm really not doing at all is I think I recall correctly, like he was mentioning that comes up with the thumbnail and title before even validating the video as a concept. It's like, if I can't come up with a thumbnail that just freaking works, I know it's gonna work. There's no point spending money making a video on that topic. And like I'm at the other end of the spectrum, like, oh, I finished editing a video. I just want to publish it and get some dopamine hit from the comments. And I have to design it. Really? Is that freeze frame not good enough? And I know the thumbnail game is where it's at, but
I'm exactly the same. I'm a like 2 hours, like after it's already uploaded to YouTube, when I'm like, I've written the title and written the description, and then I get to the part where it's like upload thumbnail, and I'm like, oh no, I need to get a thumbnail. And it's something that has made it a little bit easier. Well, I don't know, easier and harder at the same time. But recently YouTube rolled out this test and compare feature, which allows you to upload 3 different thumbnails. And then it will like test all 3. So it basically does A/B testing, or I guess ABC testing, across those 3 different different thumbnails, and then decides which one to keep based on how many people choose. It's not just clicking on it, like it's not just the click-through rate. It's also like once they click into it, how long do they watch for?
Does YouTube keep the one that performed best, so it shows you the result and you can choose? Well, I guess
both. You can either set it to automatically decide if there's a big enough, what is it, statistically significant difference in the results. So if it's just like 1 or 2%, then it doesn't. But if it's like 10 or 20%, then it can automatically choose that as soon as it's kind of determined there's enough of a gap. But yeah, that's something that I've actually found, like, while like when they first announced it, I was like, oh great, now I have to create 3 thumbnails instead of 1 thumbnail. Like it felt like
the responsive design.
This is going to be much more work. But then I realized after starting to use it that it actually kind of like, I feel like it reduces the pressure on coming up with the perfect thumbnail. And so I was always like, I would have a couple of concepts in mind as to what I wanted to do. I've been trying to like improve our thumbnail game a lot more, and trying to like come up with intriguing things that will, get people's attention and get them to stop scrolling.
Yeah.
Um, and it's always felt like this, like, I'm kind of just like finger in the air guessing between these two different concepts that are quite different.
Now you can
And
try
so,
both.
yeah, one could perform really well and one could perform really poorly, but I'm just kind of guessing which one I think would do
Yeah.
well. And so it's been really nice to just be able to do both of them and roll them out and actually see. And then having done it over like 10 or 15 videos now, like, you can see particular trends in like words that are used in the like on screen in the thumbnail, and like particular expressions. And yeah, it's interesting looking at all of that data and realizing people are very
Yeah.
predictable.
Does it make you feel sad inside when you
Yes.
realize that the
Yeah.
this face performs better by 20% just because you pull the YouTube wide open mouth shock face thumbnail and
It
you're like,
makes me very sad.
oh, fine, I'll publish that one.
It's actually like, Mr. Beast has actually said this in another interview that, um, yeah, like him, if he pulls exactly the same expression with his face, if he has open mouth versus closed mouth, the open one gets like 10 or 20% higher engagement than the closed mouth. Like more people will like that much of like reliably significant change
Yeah.
just by having his mouth open instead of closed. It's crazy. Like it's weird how like YouTube, I feel like, is really revealing these like deep subconscious like primal things about people that they just do without thinking. Like
But is it 100% people seeing that and clicking more, or is it YouTube saying, "Oh, there's a mouth open, let's push this a bit more"? Like,
maybe, but it's kind of like the click through rate. It may show it to more people. You may get more impressions, and it may put it through more people's
are there still
feed.
the click through rate
Yeah,
very low?
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that that Mr. Beast is talking about. Oh, I've frozen again. Mr. Beast is talking about changing so dramatically, is
Yeah.
that the like uh, it might show it to more people, but a higher percentage of people are choosing to click on it.
Yeah, if this is the truth, like I don't know about YouTube, but with Twitter, for example, I always look at the metrics and I'm like, nah, I don't trust any of that. It's just like numbers, whatever. And so, but yeah, if it really is the real thing that 2,000 people saw it and 74 or 740 clicked on it, then you kind of know.
Yeah, something very sad about the Twitter side of things. I'm always like video content always does really really well on Twitter, and so there's two parts to it. It's like, because it shows you the number of views that you get on Twitter.
Yeah.
A view is just it going through someone's feed, and so
Yeah.
it looks like you get a heap of people viewing the video. But yeah, don't click into the stats of any of the videos, because it's like every single one that I've seen is just like a straight line down. Like it's just people are literally scrolling through. It starts auto playing. That's counted as a view, and then they just keep scrolling.
If it loaded the first frame while you scrolled really fast,
Yeah,
it counts it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like YouTube views are, it went through someone's feed and they chose to click on it, and actually start watching it. So it takes a larger investment of engagement or whatever to get a YouTube view. But yeah, like the stats on our Superbase YouTube channel are like, keep people there for, half the video or whatever, minutes into the video. Whereas on Twitter, it's like 5 seconds. Or I think it's broken up into brackets, and it's like 0 to 30 seconds. This is how many percentage of people you had watching, and then
All of them. Yeah.
yeah, and then 30 seconds to 1 minute, and 1 minute to 2 minutes or whatever. And it's just like the only one that has any any views in it is the 0 to 30 seconds, and then it just drops right off. So it's funny because I feel like there have been a big push in the content creator space to be like, wow, we should all put stuff on Twitter. And Elon's talking about how Twitter's going to be like this video platform and take on YouTube and all of these things. And I feel like all of that is kind of being inspired or validated by these these metrics which look like there's really good engagement on these things. But yes, if you dig a little further into the stats,
It's
I
low
think
value. Yeah.
yeah, super low value, high numbers, but super low value.
Yeah.
But it also does better than any text content. So anytime I put out like a text tweet, it gets nowhere near the number of impressions
Yeah.
as if I
But
put a video, even if the video is just like a short clip of me, you know,
the part
saying,
that's really annoying me with Twitter is that I actually don't know, but I really sense that it's not what people want to engage with or not. It's just based on what you put in there. If there's a link, external link, or it's like Twitter has decided you should have media because everyone needs to be taking over TikTok and Instagram Reels. And so it will penalize. It's like no, there's no image, there's no media. Let's just only show to small amount of people. And so it decides the rules, and then you have to follow these rules, and then it reinforces the cycle. See, video performs better, so continue doing video.
yeah,
And that annoys me because it's like it forces you down a path, and then it can be used to, oh, see, my when I put the link, I put a fake image of the thumbnail that people clicked on thinking they're watching the video, and then the actual link is in the next response. Then my impressions are bigger, and it's like, yeah, but the UX of this is terrible.
yeah.
And yeah, I
And
feel like
it
it's
just
going
forces you
down
to
the
play a
drain
game.
really. Like most of the time I actually refuse. I know I'm wasting some engagement, but I'm just sharing the link directly. Or when you upload a native video, I guess you don't have that problem. But
Mm,
if I have a YouTube video, I don't want to do this pattern of like tricking people into clicking on my image and then, oh, link in bio, reply in thread, whatever.
yeah, yeah, it's frustrating. It's like, yeah, it encourages you into patterns that look good in numbers and do not look, well, just are a
Yeah.
worse experience or worse quality for
And
people.
I haven't noticed it because I don't really use other social media platforms. But I've heard people saying Facebook and like other things do exactly the same now. If you have
Mm,
an external link, they're like, "Ooh, let's not take people out of our platform. Let's mute that thing."
yeah.
And so they're like the most ugly patterns, like, "Oh, let's copy this because this succeeds," and the race to the bottom. We doomed.
And on that positive note,
Yeah.
should we move into some sick picks? Do you
Well,
have a sick pick
I
for me
do
this
not. I
week?
definitely do not have a sick pick. Yes, I'll sick pick one. I don't know how it's called. You have to go on my Twitter once again. It's a basketball that inside of it has a light, like a bright orange LED light. And the first time you tap it, it turns on for like 30 seconds until you stop tapping it. So as long as you play, it's turned on. And my son, it behaves exactly like a real basketball. Like you probably wouldn't get away in an official game as the game ball, but it's like same weight, same bounciness, very, very good feel. And so you don't see the hoop, but when you shoot, as the ball gets to the hoop, it brightens. Like you can play at night, basically, all the dribbling and stuff, and it kind of lights around the area it is in. And my
But the
son has
ball
been,
itself is,
yeah, inside the ball there is, I don't know how it's mounted on those springy stuff, but there's a really bright orange LED light, and it's USB rechargeable. So there's a little clip where you put the USB and then block it. So I guess when
yeah.
you bounce exactly on that thing, it kind of behaves a bit weird. But I've played with it and it feels like a real ball, and it's bright and it's awesome. And
That's
I've
so
I've
cool.
I've tricked people into thinking there was a magnet inside because I've done a video of my son like sinking 6 or 7 shots in a row. They all go in, and because you can see a little black spot where the USB charger. In the video, I was like, "Look at this ball! It's amazing. There's a magnet in, so every time you shoot, it goes right in. It gets attracted by the hoop and it goes in." And I said that as a joke, thinking everyone's gonna say, "Ah, it can't, doesn't work like this." And then some of my players I play with are like, "Dude, is there really a magnet? How does it work?" And I was like, "No, there's not. He's just a freak, and he doesn't miss any shot. Like he." But it's
Nice.
seeing that little kid sinking all the shots. It almost feels like, oh, there's some technology where that was funny.
That's awesome.
Anyway, shout out to this basketball with the light in. I don't know the name of it. We'll put it in the show notes.
Those show notes, those magical show notes. Riverside actually does some like AI
Yeah, show notes. Yeah, thanks
generated.
Riverside for finding what ball I talk
Yeah,
about and putting
I
it.
don't think it goes that far, but if it doesn't, then we can blame Riverside rather than us. We used the robots. The robots just didn't do their
Yeah,
job well.
What's
I
your
am
pick?
going to sick pick these wheels again. These wheels are just fantastic. Yeah,
Mm.
shout out to anything on wheels moving around. It's
Shout out to me for telling you 3 years ago.
yeah, sorry, and sorry for attributing it to Wes
To
and Scott
West
when it
Plus.
wasn't even the desk that they were talking about. They were talking about wheels on a chair. It
Yes,
must
and
have been
rollerblade wheels. Like you've just completely stole my thunder and gave it to Wes because he did a nice comment about your shirt.
yeah, yeah. And like that's probably the thing is like it was probably like subconsciously in there from me and you talking about it. And then all of a sudden I went, blip, that's a good idea. I've
Yeah,
had a
Wes,
great
thank you,
idea.
Wes.
I'll
It's
put
one.
these on the desk. What a fantastic original idea. And I've just absolutely avoided giving you credit. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I'll
So my
clap.
sick pick is listen to Simon. There is an alarming number of things that Simon mentions in the Navbar that at the time I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then like 3 months later, I have the context of it, and I'm like, Simon was right. Simon is a genius about this stuff. So
Mm,
listen to everything Simon says. That's my modified sick pick is
yes.
Simon is a genius, he is a trendsetter, he is ahead of the curve, and you should definitely listen to everything Simon says because he is always right. He was right about DaVinci Resolve, he was right about recording locally on the camera, he was right about
Tailwinds.
using a high
Yes.
quality like condenser mic close to your face. He was right about wheels on a desk. He was
Mm,
right about teleprompters. He was right when he said initially
ditching
that
the teleprompter.
teleprompters are awesome, and then he was right when he said teleprompters are too much and they box everything in and you've got to get rid of them. He's right about every phase of things that he has recommended to me, and I'm so glad that I do the Navbar podcast with you so that I can get all of this advice. And at the time, not act on it thinking, yeah, it's probably good advice, but then reflecting 3 months later and realizing that's perfect advice and you were completely right.
Look at the guilt of the wheels trying to make up with the 3 minutes of compliments overload. I'm gonna correct one thing. I am not a trendsetter. I am a trend spotter. Pattern recognition is something I'm pretty good at. I see something and I'm like, ooh, there's enough people doing this that I think it's worth some consideration.
Yeah.
And then eventually you look like you're set the trend. You just like noticed it early.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I do.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much again for another wonderful episode of the Navbar podcast. And we will see you again next week.
That was fun. See you later. Bye.
See ya.